Knocked down. Sissons in front. They score! Cole Smith to Colton Sissons. Tie game, 1-1.
Live from the Wallace Family Homestead and City National Arena.
2 men in front. Feed right, Marner to Hurdle. Stop. Rebound, score! Mark Stone. Tie game with a power play goal. The captain.
This is the VGK Insiders Show.
Left circle, Sissons. Left point, Hannafin. He shoots. Redirect, score! Double fist pump from Nick Dowd. Vegas takes a 3-2 lead.
With Daren Millard and Ryan Wallace.
Melky hit it to the bench. Vegas gets it. And now here's a shot by Hurdle. And it's in! It's Barbashev with the empty net goal. And the Knights will take game 1, leading 4-2 with 1:39 to go in the third.
On Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Welcome in, Vegas Golden Knights Insider Show, Fox Sports Las Vegas. Ryan Wallace, Daren Millard, Jared Justice hanging out with you for the next 2 hours. Golden Knights pick up a big victory, take game number 1 of their first round matchup with the Utah Mammoth. It's an off day. How we doing, boys?
Up 1-0 in the best-of-7 series in the Stanley Cup playoffs opening round for the Vegas Golden Knights, improving to 3-2 in series in which they start the Stanley Cup playoffs at home. Big performance. I like their game a lot throughout the contest, and I know they didn't score and really get going until the second period, and then really turned it on in the third period. But I really did appreciate their game throughout the contest, and they put some deposits in the bank from a physical side of things. I think that they were good defensively throughout. Dodged a couple of opportunities early on by Utah, and then the goal with 11 seconds to go in the first period was an all-world play by the Mammoth. But they have to be. Vegas has to be more conscious of that East-West, and we're going to break that down a little bit more on the pregame show on the TV side tomorrow night, just how Utah is able to take advantage of teams through that Royal Road pass. But for a first game, given where the level of familiarity is still evolving with the Vegas Golden Knights, and you're on that bigger stage, I was really impressed by the overall performance by the Golden Knights.
Yeah, you mentioned it. A lot of energy from Vegas, obviously, and you're not going to have to search for that too hard in the postseason. Like, this is what you play 82 games for, the opportunity to get into the playoffs. But you mentioned the deposits. I thought the physicality from Vegas was tremendous, not just from the opening puck drop, but all the way through to the final horn. It was one of those games where you look at a team, you want to talk about team hardness, toughness, whatever the case may be. The Golden Knights announced to Utah yesterday that this is not going to be a very easy series. Every time you touch the puck, you're going to be looking to, create some type of contact, and that physicality shine through. And, I think in a lot of ways, allowed the Golden Knights to explode offensively in the third period.
I didn't think Utah played a bad game either. I was impressed for their opening foray into the Stanley Cup playoffs as a group. Certainly, certain elements or segments of their roster has Stanley Cup playoff experience, but as a group, never having gone through that, and knowing there was the franchise's first game and the expectations and the excitement around it, I was impressed by Utah. There was a little bit of Utah trying to establish their own game, but what stood out on the Vegas Golden Knights side is traditionally the Golden Knights room, and this goes back to the early days of the Misfits, right on through to the Stanley Cup celebration, to what we saw this year. They are a patient group. They do not chase things a lot. If you push them, they will push back. And you saw that in the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2023. Yeah. Florida Panthers in particular came into Vegas and tried to establish a certain game style, and they were stiff-armed immediately and pushed back. Last night was Vegas on the front foot. They did not wait at all for Utah to try to force a certain style of play. That was all Golden Knights, and you saw that 50-plus hits, and they hadn't been in the 40s all year. You could tell that there was an edict there coming from the coaching staff and the players themselves to be forceful and initiate things, and that was nice to see from the Golden Knights side, to not the old saying is not wait to be dragged into the fight. Yeah. But to go with it, and sometimes I can see being a little patient or passive, because you don't want to get out of control at the start of a series and just start running around and doing things. And for all the times that I've wanted Vegas to be on the front foot, they've proved me wrong time and time again in their tact and how measured they are. Last night was a different approach from this group, and I don't know whether it's just Torts reminding them to go out there and take control of the situation, or the players themselves just grabbing out of the confidence that they'd been able to acquire in the 7-0-1 stretch under John Tortorella in the final 8 games that grabbed first place in the Pacific Division. But it was impressive from top to bottom what the Golden Knights were able to do. 16 of the 18 skaters had hits last night, and almost all of them multi-hit games.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, like, you know, the Golden Knights on their front foot has been kind of the thing we've wanted to see all season long, and different parts of that game have been unlocked under John Tortorella, just in how they're playing, how they're trying to move up the ice, all of those things. But if you can attach it to the physicality, if you can attach it to just getting on Utah the way that the Golden Knights did early on in that game, 20 hits in the first period, that sets a tone. And for a team that is largely in a new experience, at least their forward core to a large degree, you can kind of catch somebody off guard. You can catch a team off guard. And so, I think for the Golden Knights, it's not a scenario where you have to go out and chase it. I didn't feel like they were chasing hits last night, but they weren't passing them up.
But they were establishing their game.
Right, 100%. And so if those two things can be married, right, if you can go and establish your game, if you can be on your front foot and be physical, I think it's going to be a really long series for Utah because, I think for the Golden Knights, if they can dictate the way the game's played that way, it's going to be harder for Utah to find the plays that they want to make to make an impact.
And I haven't been waiting for them to do that all year. I'm very comfortable in the way this group approaches it, and I'm used to it and confident that there will be a response if a response is required in game. It was a different approach last night. And was it because it was game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs? Might have something to do with it. Was it because you're playing a new group in the Stanley Cup playoffs and you want to make sure that they know who they're dealing with in a very veteran team in the Vegas Golden Knights? Is it because you've got a new coach who hasn't coached 10 games with your group, and you're still trying to establish your positioning in the mind of the head coach? Probably a little bit of that. And will we see the series settle in a little bit? I think so. Now, can Vegas do that? There was some questioning happening today about being able to maintain that type of pace. And I think that is very doable, especially in this series where you have multiple 2-day breaks in the first 4 games of the set. It certainly lends itself to that type of approach. But I would think that we'll see some of those totals back off a little bit, and you'll get into a more traditional style. Vegas doesn't get into a lot of scrums or kerfuffles after a whistle. It just doesn't happen. And there was a lot of those last night where they might turn the other way play around their net or the Utah net. But that was where it was noticeable for me was after almost every whistle in the first 17 minutes of play, there was something happening, and Vegas just was standing up saying, "We're here. You want to take a run at us? We're right here."
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways it was important that they did, right? Because I don't think that it was the Golden Knights that were looking to start the skirmishes after
they
every
did
whistle.
on occasion though.
They did on occasion, but I would make the argument that was more Utah's answer, because I just didn't feel like Utah between the whistles during gameplay were able to match the physicality, the hitting that the Golden Knights had. So they were trying to make hay in some of those scrums, some of those skirmishes. And I think for the Golden Knights to kind of put a bit of a stop to that, to join in and to push back in those moments was incredibly important, not just for Game 1, but for the rest of the series.
And then Vegas does what Vegas does in the third period with the aid of a power play. And I just want to mention Pavel Dorofeev on the Mark Stone power play goal was incredible. And this happened 35 seconds before the puck ended up in the back of the net. But Dorofeev ends up on the left side with pressure at the top of the zone and does two cutbacks, very close to being pushed outside of the Utah end of the ice. And he does it perfectly, confidently, and with a purpose to be able to make a play on it. Instead of having to regroup, he turns it into an opportunity and zone time. Jack Eichel also made a really good play to keep the puck in the zone prior to that puck ending up in the back of the net. Tomas Hertl with his net front presence is there, and Mark Stone finds the puck and puts it in. But Dorofeev is known as the power play shooter over on the right flank, and he can one-time it. But his board work this year has taken such a big jump, and his ability to protect the puck in delicate situations and not panic and not just throw it down low around the boards because you're feeling pressure. It's at another level, and normally it's on the right side where he's feeling that heat and has to make a play. Yesterday he was the last guy at the top of the zone and was pressured, and did an unbelievable job in not only protecting the puck and keeping it in the zone, but made a play off it. And it doesn't show up as part of that goal and what happened, but boy, it doesn't happen. The goal doesn't happen without Pavel Dorofeev being able to execute in that type of situation. And there's players in the National Hockey League, really good players, that would have just turned around and fed that thing around the bottom dashboard and made a play to somebody else to free up some pressure. And he didn't do that, and it was really impressive from our standpoint.
Yeah, Pavel, I think in a lot of ways, you mentioned it, he's grown throughout this year. Like, obviously, 37 goals, 20 goals on the power play, that's going to grab your attention, but it's more the details than anything else. And, you highlighted it on that play, his ability to hold on to the puck, to feel that pressure but not panic, not just give away possession or, look for the easy way out, just looking to make that next play and being strong enough in shielding the puck to do so is, an area that has allowed him to take strides in his overall game. And, I think you look at the power play for the Golden Knights, specifically in the game yesterday, the one opportunity that they had. I liked Mitch Marner's willingness to get the puck to the front of the net. He was driving play that way, and that's the result of the goal, right? Like you get a good play from Pavel to hold it in. You get Marner's ability to throw the puck to the front of the net and get it through. And then obviously you mentioned Hertl, who's kind of occupying space. Mark Stone jumps on the puck, and it's a big goal to tie the game.
Fourth line, game of the season from the fourth line. Best game that I've seen from Cole Smith and certainly the emotion from Nick Dowd, Colton Sissons, that was a meat and potatoes win. With all due respect to the conversation going into the game about the loaded up front line and the power play scoring a goal last night, they got some meat and potatoes taken care of last night.
Yeah, I mean, the goal for Colton Sissons, what do? You go to the blue paint, you're strong on your skates, you're strong in that spot, and you're able to jam in a puck that's thrown there by Cole Smith. You look at the goal for Nick Dowd, and that was just relentless forecheck pressure from that line. I think Dowd created or forced a couple of turnovers before that goal comes. It's a heck of a pass from Noah Hannafin to Nick Dowd for the redirect, but the celebration, the celly from Nick Dowd was top of the line. It was tremendous. And, the fact that you get a 2-point night out of Colton Sissons, you get a game-winning goal from Nick Dowd, you get a point for Cole Smith, that is a dominant performance, a massive performance from your fourth line, setting the tone for the playoffs.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. Is Danny going to join us today?
Yeah, we're going to do Danny at 4:25. Wow.
Kind of cool. Speed things up a little bit. It's a big week of hockey in the Las Vegas Valley. You've got games 1 and 2 at T-Mobile Arena. Game 2 coming up tomorrow night, and that, by the way, is a 6:30 start. Tomorrow night. So if you're heading to the game, you're planning for game number 2, don't be late because that's going to be an earlier start than normal for TV purposes. So game 2, Vegas looking for a 2-0 series lead on the Utah Mammoth, and then on Wednesday, the Calder Cup playoffs start at Lee's Family Forum. Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. It's a best of 3. The Henderson Silver Knights against the San Jose Barracuda. All 3 games in that best of 3 because there's too much travel between the two teams to go back and forth. Budgetary, all the things that go with it. You can't just bus back and forth between those two teams. So Henderson is the home team on Wednesday, and San Jose is the home team on Friday. But all the games will be played at Lee's Family Forum. So a lot to get to over the next couple of days, playoff hockey-wise, both in the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Calder Cup playoffs. Let's take a break. We'll come back with Danny Webster as we continue on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Hockey. Noun. Webster's dictionary defines hockey as a game played on an ice rink by 2 teams of 6 players on skates, whose object is to drive a puck into the opponent's goal with a hockey stick. It's time to talk to Webster. Danny Webster, that is.
Golden Knights establishing a 1-0 series lead against the Utah Mammoth in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs last night. Game 2 tomorrow night, 6:30 face-off at T-Mobile Arena. And the Golden Knights will try to take a 2-0 series lead. Here's the beat writer covering the Vegas Golden Knights for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Danny Webster. Physically, that was an entertaining game. There was some intensity in the game. Where do you think Vegas was able to win the hockey game, though, yesterday?
I think ultimately experience took over. I think when you're in a situation when you're down 2-1 in the third period, you kind of rely on the veteran savvy in the locker room. You rely on how to get the job done. And, that's no slight on Utah. They obviously played a very strong game through 40 minutes, and they took a 2-1 lead into the third. And, I think they deserved every bit of that lead going into the third. But, you just had a feeling, and especially we watched this team all year, the way that they've come back in third periods and the way that they've been able to get the job done when it seemed like their backs were up against the wall every single game. When they went in trailing, they just found a way. And ultimately, that's what got it done, and that's why they're up 1-0 going into tomorrow.
Now, did the physicality in any way surprise you? Not necessarily inside the game, during gameplay, but after the whistles, the scrums, the skirmishes. Was that surprising to you in any way?
It was a little bit, though I reflected a little bit, and I was like, well, if the Golden Knights and the Coyotes ever met in a playoff series, this is kind of exactly what I would think about, because that was the kind of rivalry that, you probably expected when the Golden Knights entered the league. So it kind of came up 9 years a little bit too late. But yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it from the standpoint of after the whistle, you look at Utah trying to establish itself. You know, a lot of those guys are playing their first playoff games. A lot of them playing their first playoff games in a long time. You know, they've got Stanley Cup winners on that roster, so they've got guys they can lean on in that experience. And sometimes it's just a matter of being drug into the fight. And I think Utah definitely wanted to bring itself into the fight. They were more than willing to oblige. And I think the Golden Knights, the fact that they were able to kind of set the tone physically a little bit and allow themselves to kind of dictate the way that game was going physically. No surprise that I think Utah got involved in that way. And I think that overall, when you look at the way that this series needed to start from both sides, I think ultimately I was a little surprised, but I think given the way that this series is going to go ultimately, and I think it's going to be a long one, that you might as well get this stuff out of the way and then see if it can translate to the rest of the series.
Whose game did you like the most last night?
Individually?
Yeah.
I love the fourth line. I mean, I know it's individually, but the fourth line in general, they were probably the best line on the ice for the majority of the night. And, you know, I think ever since when you start with Colton Sissons' goal and you look at the pass from Cole Smith and the way that forecheck was just, it was just relentless all night, coming in waves. And John Tortorella, you know, said it last night, you know, he could put that fourth line against anybody and they can get the job done. I think the play to set up Nick Dowd's goal, you know, I think it was Cole Smith that broke up the play in the zone and then allowed Sissons to find Hannafin and make a great pass to Dowd on the tip. I think that line was really the tone setter, not just physically, but I think that the way that they drove the forecheck all night and kind of put Utah on its heels a little bit to get them thinking a little bit of how to defend it. I thought those three were the best line of the night, and they definitely are the reason why the Golden Knights won that game.
If you look at it from Utah's perspective, do they feel good about that? Like, if you're leaving a game where, you know, you're most impressed by the Golden Knights' fourth line, is there something that Utah can pull out of that and how they defended?
Maybe, yeah. I think the fact you can look at it that they were 20 minutes away from taking a 1-0 series lead, and the fact that it forced Torts to break up the nuke line that I've called them with Marner, Eichel, and Stone, to kind of force them to break that up and allowed Barbashev to go back up and kind of balance the top six a little bit more. I think if you're going into that with the mindset of doing that and you can neutralize those three for a majority of the game, I think Utah's got to feel pretty good about that. I think that, you know, they obviously got their big guy going in Logan Cooley, who had a really strong game last night. And I think that if you're able to have your top guys go on the road and play well, while for the most part neutralizing Vegas's top guys, you got to feel good at least that you played a really strong opening game, just like I mentioned at the top. You know, I think experience played a factor toward the end, and you saw it the way that third period unfolded. And ultimately, that's what I think is going to dictate this series. So Utah definitely played a really strong game. They had a really strong 40 minutes in that game. And they can definitely lean on that going into game two and when the series shifts to Utah. So, yeah, I would say if you're Utah, you got to feel pretty good about where you are, but there's still a long way to go.
Carter Hart was good again, 7-0 since he's come back, and made some saves that were harder than they looked. And something that Utah, I realized last night in watching them so intimately, they have this tendency to shoot from anywhere or places that you don't necessarily expect. I call it like after somebody scores from there, like who shoots from there? Almost like taking yourself off the hook. Like, why would anybody shoot from there? But it works. He made some saves last night off those awkward or unexpected plays that didn't allow momentum to get away. And when the bounce went against him, he was solid again in backing that up. And that showed another level in his evolution this season with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's twofold. One, I think the Golden Knights did a pretty good job of keeping things out of the middle of the ice. I thought that they were able to take away the high danger areas for the most part. But to that point, Daren, the way that Utah gets its goals, and they've done it all year. I mean, that's why they got a 23-year-old goal scorer that scored 40 this year. Like, he's capable of putting any, scoring from anywhere. You got a captain who's averaging more than a point per game. Like, these guys can score the puck. And when you are just firing it from all cylinders and you've got belief in your shot, you're going to be able to hang with any team, no matter who you're facing. And that just shows just how good Carter Hart's been since he's come back into the lineup. And he was solid once again. He made some really big saves in the third period that, in a timely manner when the Golden Knights are getting the momentum and, Utah is trying to make its push. He stood tall. He made a couple of big saves in the final couple of minutes before the empty netter that I thought that really swung the tide there. And, we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks here is they were going to need to find an answer in terms of goaltending at some point. They found the answer. Now it's just a matter of, can he keep it up with this consistency? And so far he's been up to the task. He's made big saves. He's been called upon to win these games that, maybe a few weeks ago the Golden Knights weren't expected to win. And, last night, like you said, he had the bounce that went his way, off a crazy hop there. And he rebounded and he made some big saves and he got the win. And that's really all he's done since he's gotten back in the lineup. And he's one of the big reasons why the Golden Knights are where they are right now.
There was some blood spilled last night, a couple of occasions. Had a headbutt tossed in there. It was a playoff game in every aspect of a hockey playoff game.
It was, and it was a hockey playoff game to the point where Sean Durzee's wallet is a little lighter today. That part of it too. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun to watch it from up top. It was fun to see the atmosphere come alive again for a playoff game. Like I said, the blood spilling, Nick Dowd getting involved in pretty much every facet, even toward the end. Obviously the cameras caught, things that he said toward the end of the game there. And, he's fired up to be playing playoff hockey again. And I think the whole team is too. When you get dragged into the fight and when you're getting, mixed in with that intensity, it's a lot of fun. And, even though the game went on a little bit later than my deadline would have liked last night, it was still a lot of fun to watch. And it was a lot of fun to see all the action unfold after the whistle and everything of that sort.
Yeah, Dursey fined $5,000 for that headbutt last night. They didn't deem it to be severe enough to be worthy of a suspension. I agree with them on that. Nobody likes headbutting. You shouldn't be doing it, and you should pay the consequences if you do it. But it was a poorly timed headbutt, considering Dursey didn't have a helmet on, and Rasmus Andersson had the visor and the bucket still on. So it would be a difficult one. It was an obvious headbutt, but it's challenging to say that it was putting Rasmus Andersson in any peril.
I will say, though, I did come out of that, rather surprised that they didn't give him, a 5 or game misconduct, let alone he got a roughing, and then Anderson and Howden got roughing as well. That one kind of confused me. But, I've learned over, 8 times in 9 years to just not question the officials and their decisions with penalties because it's going to make my head hurt.
I actually thought they were looking at the high stick, which got.
I thought they were too.
I
thought they were too.
Smith up high, and boy, in hanging out with Daren Elliott and Alec Martinez last night, Marty was the first one to say is that gash on Cole Smith's upper lip, like it's in a place where it's not going to be able to heal for the next while. It's just going to keep getting broken open, either because you're eating something or you're in a scrum during the game. He's like that thing's going to be bleeding for a week.
Oh, that sucks. Totally I can't imagine. Sucks. He's going to be eating smoothies for the next little bit. My God.
It's just more. It's going to be more annoying than anything.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, Danny, you mentioned, the Golden Knights defensively in the game last night. I don't feel like there was, there were chances early on for Utah. I thought certainly in the third period, the Golden Knights were able to really take away the middle of the zone from the Utah Mammoth. On the defensive side of things, was there a player or two or a couple that stood out to you on the Vegas side?
Yeah, I think when you look in the back end, I thought, Anderson, Hanifin, I thought they were both really good. Not even just offensively, but I thought they were really stout defensively. They got their legs moving. They closed a lot of plays, especially early on. Like you said, when they got their chances early on, there were a couple of instances where I think Anderson and Hanifin got back, and they closed their gaps really well. And I thought that kind of set the tone a little bit, because there were a couple moments where I thought Theodore and McNabb, I think kind of were behind the eight ball off a couple of giveaways that, they would like to have back. Fortunately, it didn't result in anything major on their end, but I thought that, they rebounded in the second half of the game, and I thought they played very well. But I thought Anderson and Hanifin were great. They were really good offensively. I thought they were really sound defensively, especially early on in the game, and I think it translated really well throughout the night.
Where does Vegas have to be better, or do they?
Well, I'd like to think that they would like to be better, but joking with John Tortorella, I guess he keeps it in the room, so I'm not able to get any answers from him today on that. I would say it's hard when you look at it from a 4-2 standpoint and you look at the goals given up and it's like, what more can you do? I thought the Cooley goal was just a great play, great individual effort by him, and then the second one is just kind of a fluke. I think probably through the neutral zone, like Keegan Kolsar said earlier today, I think, when they're coming through the neutral zone, when Utah's got them on their heels, can they defend it a little bit better? Can they break out a little bit cleaner and get going in the offensive zone there in their fashion? Utah's a good defensive team. So I think either way you look at it, it's going to be hard for them to kind of press through. For the Golden Knights, it's going to be hard to press through just through that neutral zone trap, because they're able to, lock it down as well as they are. So I would say probably that would be the start. And if they're able to do that, and they're able to get their breakouts a little bit cleaner, and they're able to play a little bit cleaner on the back check, I think that's probably where they need to improve the most. But overall, I mean, you look at it from the standpoint of, from the start to finish, I thought they played a solid game. And you look at it, there's maybe not a whole lot they could have improved on, but that's probably one of the areas where I look at it and say, yeah, that probably could have been a little bit better on both sides.
Okay, I'll ask you very directly, like falling behind in a game. The Golden Knights, all throughout the season, it was better under John Tortorella, but at some point, right, you want to be able to play with a lead earlier on in a game. So is that any level of concern for you, that it was another game where the Golden Knights had to come from behind against a Utah team that, as you mentioned, is pretty stout defensively?
It was one goal.
I understand it was one goal. Then it was a 2-1 deficit. I'm just asking a simple question.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard not to think that way, right? When it's happened so many times throughout the year, when there's been situations where they've been fallen behind by 3 and they got to work their way out of it. Like I totally get it. And like you said, Ryan, it's been a situation where it's been a lot better under John Tortorella, and it hasn't really been that much of an issue. I don't think they've really, like, even going back into the regular season, they've only trailed maybe a handful of times. And I think the Colorado game was probably the one where they did. And again, they found a way to get back. I think that obviously in the playoffs, you cannot let that happen, but I did like the way that they responded. Even though it was late in the first period, going into the second period, they obviously got the response they needed, putting on the forecheck, getting the Sissons goal, and obviously the bad fluke coming the other way. I thought they responded well. And I think that's been the thing that, we talked about it for the last couple of years, stopping the bleeding. They've stopped the bleeding a little bit better. And I think you can look toward that and say that's where I think they've improved. Now, obviously, if it becomes a habit, like say in game 2 and they fall behind 2-0 early, it's like, here we go again. But I think they've done a lot better of a job responding, which was, I think, a big problem a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that they weren't getting the responses quickly and early as they used to. But they've done a lot better job stopping the bleeding. And I think if you're doing that and you're showing life in that sense, then you can at least feel a little bit comfortable knowing you're only down 1 goal going into the third period.
Danny Webster with us on the VGK Insider Show on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Anybody else notice the crowd was a little spicy last night?
Yeah, I thought it was we want the cup. It was not. It was something a little bit more agitated toward the Utah faithful.
Yeah,
and that was quite surprising. Yeah, I was not expecting that. That was a very bold move by the home crowd here.
Did you mind it?
I'm not one to say anything bad about someone else's team or someone else's state in that derogatory manner. But you know what? If it gets the crowd going and if that leads into the players getting, energized off it because they're feeling good and they just took the lead, then I guess, sure. I mean, it's sports. It's all in good fun. I know people were a little bit mad about it, but, me personally, I wouldn't do that. But again, that's why I'm the curmudgeon that just writes the stories and is not involved in the stands over here.
I didn't mind it. I'm not saying that I was like, oh my golly gee, that is very insensitive to the Utah fans. I'm not down that path. I just thought it would take more than 40 minutes of hockey for this rivalry to become that.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I think I was just more, like I said, I think the fact that you started to see the intensity on the ice early on, and then when the crowd finally gets something to cheer about, finally feels something good about, then they're feeling a little bit more comfortable. Shout out to the Utah fans, though, by the way, for showing out. They showed up and were very loud last night, very noticeable in that game, and I think that it's going to set the tone for what's going to be a really fun environment when the series goes to Salt Lake on Friday. I'm really excited to see, if the Golden Knights fans show up to Utah and kind of create a nice little environment in a battle between the fan bases, because they were really loud last night. It was really cool to see.
Did Game 1 change your perception of the series in any way?
No. I still think this is going to go 6. I still think this is going to be a very competitive series. They always say that it's never a series until the road team wins. I still think experience is going to pan out in this series one way or the other. And I think that it's going to eventually lean the Golden Knights' way in that favor. But no, I think what it showed last night is that it's going to be a fun series. It's going to be an entertaining series. It's going to be a lot of up and down, good defensive hockey, but a lot of, entertaining hockey when you get out in open space. And I think that's exactly what you're going to need for like a full, exciting 6-7 games, however long this goes.
It's hard to think back and know exactly what the dynamics were a year ago in the series, Vegas against the wild card team in the Minnesota Wild. But I felt last year in that set that Vegas was playing catch up more, and eventually persevered, and were able to get on and past the Wild. Last night, I didn't have that feeling. I felt like they were in a comfortable spot and were in a better place in that Game 1 last night than I remember them being against the Minnesota Wild, even though they won Game 1 last year as well.
Yeah, and obviously I think the series shifted after Game 2, and you remember Game 2, a couple of turnovers here, a couple of bad bounces here. Suddenly Minnesota I think went up 3-0, 4-0. In Game 2, and suddenly the game was out of reach. And, I do wonder what is Utah's response going to be in Game 2. Historically, the Golden Knights have, been rather pedestrian at home in Game 2, 7-7 all time in best-of-7 series. So I'm interested to see how, Utah responds. I'm interested to see, can Vegas keep up the pressure and establish that home ice advantage and strengthen it a little more. So tomorrow's going to be really telling which way this series goes heading into Game 3. But yeah, if it's anything like last night, even if the Golden Knights were in control, they felt like it was, firmly in their possession. It was still a very entertaining game, and I probably would expect more of the same tomorrow night.
Danny, would you come back with the loaded up top line?
Yeah. Why not?
Because I like them together. I know they didn't score, but they had some looks.
Yeah, I think that there is something there. I think just the only concern I would have with that group is that they had some looks. There's just none of them were on net, right? I think the expected goals were rather really low. I think it was like 0.2 expected goals. But I thought defensively they held their own, and I think that's what you need from that group. And
that could be a shutdown line, Danny. At the other end.
No, it absolutely.
How responsible those three guys are?
Oh, yeah, it absolutely could. Like, it has that capability of being that kind of a line that, later down further in the playoffs, if you get far, it could be used for, a top line on another team that gets going. And, I can't remember who exactly. I think they were up against the Cooley line for the most part. I have to go back and look at the numbers, but it looked like they were against the Cooley line for the most part. And, I think toward the end of the first period when, they got caught in that change and, I think the hurdle line got tagged for that goal against. I thought that they played really well. I thought they were really sound defensively. They won a couple of defensive zone draws and, broke the puck out really quickly and, got going the other way. So I think they did their job defensively. But obviously when you look at the numbers and they don't, get the points on the board, that becomes your first concern. But I thought overall they played well. I just don't know if it's going to be something that, Torts sticks with for a whole game. And I don't think anybody would expect it to, but I think it's there to use in spades. And I think it's there to use just as something that you can rely on going forward.
What's the angle for your piece in the RJ?
Well, today was about the physicality aspect. The fact that the Golden Knights, they don't throw their weight around a whole lot, but they can do it in spades, which is why they put up 51 hits last night. And they're not afraid to get into the fight in that sense. The other night, or last night, I did write about the fourth line and just how effective they were all night. And we'll see what tomorrow pans out. But that is what we've got going in the old paper for yesterday and today.
Have fun tomorrow night. Enjoy Game 2.
All right, you guys too.
There's Danny Webster with us on Fox Sports Las Vegas. The VGK Insider Show continues after this.
The Vegas Golden Knights are once again in the NHL playoffs and will be looking to hoist a certain cup at the Fortress again. But this will be no easy task, as the Stanley Cup playoffs are thought by many to be the toughest playoffs in all of sports. So we know all you Knights fans are hoping for a long run, and remember, we will have every VGK playoff game on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Oh, and one more thing, go Knights, go! You're listening to the VGK Insider Show.
Following the Stanley Cup playoffs on Fox Sports Las Vegas, brought to you by Findlay Cadillac in the Valley Auto Mall, and online at findlaycadillac.com. My car is over there right now. Getting some service done on it at this very moment at Findlay Cadillac. Love everybody over there. They're doing an amazing job, and I so appreciate being part of their family.
That's tremendous. Mm-hmm. Like you've got the car in, everything's going well in that regard. Like, look at you.
I was actually going to do the show from there today.
Were you?
But they're undergoing a couple of renovations, and I didn't want to be that guy to say, "Hey, can I grab an office to do the show?" I didn't want to do that.
That doesn't seem like something you're shy about, though. You should have just done it.
Well,
they would have accommodated.
It's just one of those things where not everybody has to listen to my business. If you tune into the station, that's a choice. But if you're just there getting some stuff done in your vehicle and you're not a sports fan, you probably don't want to listen to me. A one-sided conversation of me to that end. So It was fair. So Jen took the car over. Very thankful of that. Hour number 2, John Tortorella on this day between games 1 and 2. Next on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Knocked down. Sissons in front. They score! Paul Smith to Colton Sissons. Tie game, 1-1.
Live from the Wallace Family Homestead and City National Arena.
2 men in front. Feed right, Marner to Hurdle. Stop. Rebound, score! Mark Stone. Tie game with a power play goal. The captain.
This is the VGK Insiders Show.
Left circle, Sissons. Left point, Hannafin. He shoots. Redirect, score! Double fist pump from Nick Dowd. Vegas takes a 3-2 lead.
With Daren Millard and Ryan Wallace.
Melky hit it to the bench. Vegas gets it. And now here's a shot by Hurdle. And it's in! It's Barbashev with the empty net goal. And the Knights will take game 1, leading 4-2 with 1:39 to go in the third.
On Fox Sports Las Vegas.
VGK with 3 unanswered goals last night in the third period to turn a 2-1 deficit into a 4-2 win over the Utah Mammoth. Game 2 goes tomorrow night at T-Mobile Arena. It is a 6:30 puck drop. Take that into account as you're putting together your plans to either watch the game, listen to the game, or go to the game at T-Mobile Arena. Looking forward to it. We'll be in the rink for the VGK Insider Show tomorrow, ahead of the broadcast on the radio side of it, as well as the TV broadcast for the first round does belong, along with the national broadcasters, to Scripps Sports, and we're so excited to be able to bring you your team of broadcasters that you are used to listening to and joining it throughout the year. 4-game night in the National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Game 2 between the Hurricanes and the Senators, the Penguins and the Flyers, and the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars. The series opener involving the Anaheim Ducks and the Edmonton Oilers. That is the last of the 8 first-round series that will get underway. We'll give you all the updates as we get into one-timers news notes from around the National Hockey League.
You know, I'm interested. I'm excited for the Edmonton-Anaheim series because I do feel like there's potential for a lot of goals in that one specifically. And I'll be curious to see how Minnesota follows up a really strong performance in Game 1 against Dallas, and whether or not Dallas is able to find the answers that they didn't have quite readily in Game number 1 against Minnesota.
People should realize Dallas always loses Game 1.
It's fair. It's a good point.
Every series, they lose the opener.
Matter. Yep.
And they've gone to 3 straight Western Conference finals. So there was a lot of discussion about the Game 1 performance by the Dallas Stars on home ice, from goaltending right on out. But let's wait. This series in particular, the Dallas-Minnesota one, requires a couple of games to be played before I really get into exactly which direction that set's going to go.
Sure. And then I think for the Ottawa Senators, boy, oh boy, they just like to score a goal. That's all. 5 minutes to go in the first period. They still have not scored in the series.
Again, it's like you can't be that reactionary in the moment. It's a 7-game series, so just let things breathe a little bit. Do you drink wine?
No, I don't drink wine. No.
Why do you say it like no? Are you too good for wine?
I just don't drink wine.
I don't. It was like you were insulted there.
General.
Do you drink wine? No.
Yeah, no.
So wine you open and you let it breathe a little bit. You don't just start chugging. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, you gotta let it breathe a little bit.
Are you telling me to release the tannins? Like, is that what you're telling me to do right now?
I have no idea.
Like,
what
let
that
them
means.
breathe.
Tannins? What's a tannin?
Yeah, isn't that the thing that you're releasing in the wine?
Yes.
Oh, I just let it breathe.
Do you drink wine?
I love wine. I'm a massive wine fan. I just didn't know what the tannins were. What was the other thing the other day that I didn't know what it was either? It was the Nighthawks.
I don't know what happens so often.
The Nighthawks thing. Who are the Nighthawks playing?
Oh yeah. Well, there's what it's actually called, and then there's what you called it.
So
it is actually a chupacabra.
Chupacabra.
Yeah,
Nice.
that is not what you said.
I have no idea what I said.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
We'll see. Well, make a promo out of it.
I'm sure Jared already did.
Good. That's good. The Golden Knights take on the Utah Mammoth game tomorrow. It's fun to see a rivalry. Vegas and Arizona, you always wanted that geographic rivalry to be there. Never happened because the Coyotes just, frankly, weren't ever competitive enough for them to be really competing either respectfully for playoff spots or in the Stanley Cup playoffs. This one could have some legs. I don't see them as division partners ever, but when you're as close as they are between Salt Lake and Vegas, I would love to see a little more jam between these two teams.
Yeah, I didn't mind the way that game number one was played. I loved the fact that it was physical. I loved the fact that it was chippy. I loved that there were skirmishes and scrums after most whistles early on in the game, and that never really went away. And, again, it looks like Utah, a team that's on the rise, a team that is here now, will be around for a while. Like, I don't think this is going to be the only time that the Golden Knights and the Utah Mammoth play each other in the postseason. So build in that animosity as early and as quickly as you can, because it could be something really fun to watch over the next 3 to 5 years.
I don't think Utah is distraught by their performance last night.
So shouldn't be.
Keep that in mind for a group that was playing their first playoff game together. They had a couple of leads. Played a pretty good hockey game. Stood in there in the fight. They were aggressor at times, and I think that the follow up from their team will be just as interesting to see how the Golden Knights. We have an idea of where the Golden Knights will approach this game tomorrow night, having watched them over the last 8+ years. Now 9 regular seasons. Where Utah comes at this, knowing that it was all new, and the quick turnaround to game 2 will be an interesting thing to follow from just a competitive standpoint.
Well, when you think of Utah in the game that they played, like they should feel pretty good about the fact that Jack Eichel didn't find the score sheet, that that line, Eichel, Marner, Stone, though they had zone time, they weren't able to break through in the way that that trio of players would want to 5-on-5. I think if you're Utah, you should be pretty encouraged with how you were able to move the puck around at times. I think they're a really good skate, like a strong skating team. They pass well. Like I don't think that they should feel too badly about their performance. I'll be interested on a physicality standpoint inside the game, hitting. Do the Mammoth try to dial it up a little bit more? Like, does Jack McBain go out there and really try to lay the body? Same thing with Brandon Tanev. Like, I'm interested to see how they match the physicality that we saw out of the Golden Knights in game number 1.
Yeah, that's a fine line, man. It is really delicate to being aggressive physically and making those contributions for withdrawals that you make later on in the series, pounding their defense or being physical on their forwards and being able to wear them down without being running around and taking yourself out of position to finish those checks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of the learning curve in the playoffs, right? Because I look at game number 1, the Utah Mammoth, they lost the physicality battle. They did. Are they going to try to overcorrect because it's a newer experience for some of those forwards? And if they do, is that something the Golden Knights can exploit? I'll be interested to see that tomorrow.
30 plus hits, that's not a walk in the park.
It isn't a walk in the park. No, it isn't a walk in the park, but they lost the battle, right? And sometimes You can overcorrect, like, we were just talking about. Let things breathe. Can the Utah Mammoth let it breathe that they're going to get out hit by 20 hits every single night? Are they comfortable with that? Do they feel like they can win that way? That's what I'm interested in seeing in terms of their response tomorrow.
Golden Knights held a team meeting today, did not practice, and then we were able to chat with a couple of guys, Keegan Colasar and Braden McNabb, as well as John Tortorella, who you'll hear from in just a little bit. But I asked Braden, like, is there, because it was nasty last night. It was physical. It was aggressive. It was dirty in some of these scrums. I said, is there part of that that's fun? And yeah, he admitted that, like the intensity of the Stanley Cup playoffs and everything that goes along with it. There's pressure, yes. There's peril to yourself physically, whether you're cut or you're bruised or you're banged up. But like that's fun. Players have fun last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think you can see it in the scrums, like in the moment, right? Like obviously you're in there, you're battling, you're pushing, you're face washing, you're throwing punches, all of those things. But I think at the end of the day, like that's what you live for as a hockey player. That's the competition, finding another gear. That is going out there and laying it all on the line. And I think the teams that are willing and find not just peace but enjoyment in that are the teams that go the farthest in the postseason. Like you have to like and you have to be okay with going in there and literally fighting for your teammates and for yourself.
It's fun to see Jeremy Lauzon in that environment.
I mean, he exists in that environment. It doesn't matter if it's game 20 on a Tuesday or game 1 of the playoffs. He's the same guy. It's amazing.
It's just he's made for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yes, he is. Ivan Barbashev too.
Like the Stanley Cup playoffs and Jeremy Lauzon should be a tandem. Like whether they make an Instagram official or not, mm-hmm. but they're a perfect marriage.
Like peanut butter and jelly.
Or jam, whatever you decide. John Tortorella, let's get into the coach and his comments on this off day between games 1 and 2 of this first round series.
Keegan mentioned that when looking at the tape, neutral zone was one of the areas of focus. After looking back yourself, is that one of the areas that you feel needs to be improved on going into game 2, or is there any other area that you thought?
No, the stuff we need to work on, I'm going to keep in the room. There's always some good stuff after games, always some stuff you need to improve on. Had a good meeting today, and we'll get ready to play our next one.
I know it's been a short sample size, but do you have a theory on the success that this team has in the third period?
I don't. I know they've been doing it all year long. Like to think it's resiliency. I think we showed that a little bit last night. How it's all transpired during the year, I wasn't here, but it's not a great recipe to be chasing as many games as the team has. So hopefully we can try to stay away from that too much during the playoffs here.
You talked about not overcoaching, especially this time of year. I'm curious, what does a day like today look like for you, your staff, and then players?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what we did, but the general view of it is it's a review of how we played last night, what we think to expect for tomorrow. Look at some of the things we did well, some of the things we need to improve on, and it's done with tape, it's done with conversation. We'll go through after each and every day. It's not about getting on the ice. You try to use these times just to try to get them together. And show some tape as far as the good and bad.
One of the things this team's done real well over a long period is they don't allow the other team to get in front of the goal. I thought that was the case last night. Did you agree that you were really hard to get in front of the goal defensively?
At times, yeah. There was at times. Other times there were people there. Again, like I said last night after the game, I thought Carter gave us a chance. It was a game. It was a game of, as all games are in the playoffs, of momentum swings. But yeah, it's a big part of it, trying to let the goalie see the puck. We're trying to get in front of theirs. They're trying to get in front of ours. At times we were good. Other times there were some areas around there that we can improve on.
You mentioned, you rewatched the game. What did you like? I mean, the third period, another comeback to stay in it. What jumped out at you as to the reasons you won the game?
Well, I think just, especially when we tie the game 1-1, and then just, a minute or two later, it's kind of a fluky goal. I just thought we stayed with it. We just kept on playing, just tried to plug away, tried to do the things we need to do. At times we were successful, at times we weren't, but we just stayed with it and scored a big power play goal to even us up. And I thought Dowder's line gave us some really good shifts, and as I said last night, they get rewarded scoring that third goal.
You mentioned meetings showing the guys some video. Do you have a school of thought or just a benchmark how long that should be? You've been doing this a long time. Will you have their attention?
It depends. Yeah. That attention span's getting shorter and shorter each year goes by with the athletes. But I think with the group, they're dialed in. It depends. As I've said, we overcoach. Like I had a number of clips I wanted to show them, and I cut it back down to a quarter of what I really had. So you got to be really careful. You need to respect the athlete too, and where it's not always on top of them about this, that, the other thing. We found some important things that we thought we needed to work on. We saw some important things that we thought we were really good at. So you show both, and that's kind of a feel thing. So.
To that point, in the short time you've been around this group, how would you assess their collective hockey IQ to where you don't have to spend long periods of time explaining what you want done?
Yeah, I think when it's a veteran group, sprinkled with some kids, and it's a group that has been involved in the playoffs from the inception here. A lot of guys have from the inception of the team. So that comes into play. I think you can insult players if you're showing them things that you really don't need to show them. I think sometimes as coaches we show things because we just want to make sure we give them all the information. I don't think we need to do that with this group. I think it needs to be a two-way street there, and not wearing them down with clip after clip. So I thought we touched on. We met as a staff. I thought we touched upon the things we need to touch upon. We always check around. I got a great staff. They always check around with the players. Do you need any more? Do you have any other questions? So you do it that way. So it's kind of, you collaborate with them. And I think the group, if it's a younger group, no, you might do it differently. But this group here, I think that's the way we'll go about it.
Coach, what is your approach to managing emotions in the playoffs, not getting too high or too low?
Yeah, it's a big part of playoffs. The momentum swings that go on in the games, and how you react to them on the bench, a real big part of it. And it's that you're always trying to keep them this way. You're just not too high, not too low. We always say that as a coach. Hard to do in playoffs for players, for coaches. So that's something the coaching staff has to manage. And if we think we're losing ourselves and losing our concentration, you get in the scrums and after whistles and stuff like that, you got to watch yourself there. To me, it's, from my point of view, if I think it's too much and we're going down the wrong road, I just remind them, right, and just try to bring them back. Not going to try to babysit them. I think emotion's really good, but there's a fine line of having the right emotion. You don't want to be sitting in the penalty box. So it's watching it, it's hearing it on the bench. The benches are probably one of the most interesting places you can be in these types of games. I love being there to hear it and see it, but I also have to coach that. Sometimes you're coaching that more than the game, what's going on X's and O's wise. So especially in playoffs, it's magnified.
What kind of feeling did you get from your group going into last night? Was it the same as the first 8 games, or because of the playoffs it was amped up?
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, it was especially you have 2 days, right? You have 2 days to get ready. I'm looking at the clock, and it's like the clock had stopped at 5:30 last night because it seemed like forever to get to the game. I can imagine how the players feel. It's not like a regular season game. The preparation isn't like that. And I know when you can feel a room when you walk in there, it's a whole different type of intensity. And it better be, because you just will not succeed in playoffs if you don't raise. Everything's got to be raised. Your emotion level, everything. Yeah, just your whole appearance, how you carry yourself, everything has to be raised. You just can't get caught in being out of your mind and start doing some stupid things. And so you can feel that when you walk into the room.
I love that last line. There's so many cliches that we get out of the game, but that was just legitimate feeling and emphasis. You can't get caught being out of your mind in that situation, and that's where the experience does come into play to help teams get through some of these ultra jacked up environments. So whether it's the opener of the Stanley Cup playoffs last night or what Utah is going to experience for games 3 and 4 back in their building.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, but impossible at times, I think, to do. And that's to not get too high, to not get too low, to lean into the emotion without going overboard. When you are ready to go, when you have waited all season long to get to this point, when you are focused on winning 16 playoff games, everything is turned to 11. And the teams that are able to find a way to manage that, manage it well, play into that emotion, but not lose their minds, as Tort said, are the teams that find success. And for a Golden Knights team that won just a couple of years ago, they've got a lot of players that know how to toe that line and do it incredibly well.
Following the Stanley Cup playoffs on the VGK Insider Show on Fox Sports Las Vegas, helped out by Finley Cadillac. Finley Cadillac is the Valley Auto Mall and online at finleycadillac.com. We've got the word of the day. Can I get jumped into the word of the day, or are you kind of on a roll with this thing?
No, you can do it. You got it? You want to change it?
I wouldn't mind going down a certain path if I'm able to, but I'm leery at times because, like, the bosses and I, we're getting along well right now. Like, it's
are you?
It's turned a corner. We
really
it's been
when you showed the meeting, they liked that.
No, they understood because it was a game day, right?
Yeah,
you got to be able to keep things in line and be able to look after.
Be able to let it breathe.
They appreciated what I've been able to do. Like the champion came out, like they looked at me as a guy that's a champion or championing the show's cause or the Golden Knights cause. So can I make champions the word of the day today?
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to make it singular, but it's not. It is plural. So
it is plural.
Yes.
Yeah, champions.
Yeah.
Like I'll include you and Jared if you guys want.
Sure. I'd love to.
You're embracing that? I thought that was a nice little olive branch for you guys. We can be champions together.
Yeah, I'm with it. Okay, so word of the day, as decreed by Daren Millard on this day, April 20th. Champions. Text champions, 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 to 702-876-1340, and you could hit the jackpot, $2,026, thanks to Lotus Broadcasting, Paul Padalaw, and Fox Sports Las Vegas. Champions. Text that in right now to 702-876-1340.
How are you guys today? Any scuttlebutt or any activity around 420?
No.
It was 420
why would
today.
there be?
Because it was 420.
Yeah, what do you do on 420?
I think you know exactly what you do on 420. We'll take a break. We'll come back.
Heard of it.
On Fox Sports Las Vegas. So one-timers, news notes from around the National Hockey League at 5:24 on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
If it's For the truck, give us a call, we've got it.
For the Truck is your premier truck shop. Our suspension experts will take your ride to the next level.
Steps, wheels, bumpers. Carlson left corner, centered, one-timer, score!
It's time for One-Timers. A quick look at news and notes from around the National Hockey League. Brought to you by Paul Pata Law. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
Before we get into One-Timers, we got some tickets to give away. Tickets from AXS. I call it Access, but it's AXS.
Okay, I'll give away the tickets. If you want to go see Benavidez versus Zurdo at the T-Mobile Arena on May 2nd, 702-876-1340, be caller number 11.
And you can win the tickets through AXS. Hey, tonight we get the last of our game ones in the Stanley Cup playoffs in the opening round. Edmonton against Anaheim. The intrigue around this game is Leon Draisaitl's activated. Missed a bunch of time down the stretch. They're calling him a game-time decision along with Jason Dickinson. But everything's pointing towards Leon Draisaitl making his return. He has not played since March 15th.
I mean, listen, if Leon is in, then I think the Edmonton Oilers are the overwhelming favorites in this series. I know that Anaheim has young talent. They can score. I just don't think they are going to be able to defend an attack of Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, the way that they're going to need to in order to win 4 games out of 7. So it would be a step in the right direction, obviously, for the Edmonton Oilers if they get Draisaitl back in the fold. Same thing with Jason Dickinson. Like, that would be big for them, too. But I just, I don't know that Leon has to play game 1. As long as he's back in this series, it's the Edmonton Oilers to lose.
Do you know who won more games this year between these two hockey clubs? Like, as far as total games? The Ducks. Yeah. They won 2 more games than the Oilers this season. I'm surprised at how lopsided the predictors are on this series in just basically writing the Oilers in. Now, the Ducks had a very miserable final 10 games.
They were very bad. It's like 2 wins in their last 10 games. It's a recency bias. I get it. I do. I understand that. But it's hard for me, especially for a team of players like Anaheim, who there are some guys that have veteran experience that have played in the playoffs. There are a lot of guys that this is going to be their first crack at it, to struggle that mightily down the stretch in order to try to turn it on in the postseason against the team that represented the Western Conference the last 2 years in the Stanley Cup final. That's a big ask for an inexperienced team.
What's the most vulnerable part of the Oilers game?
Goaltending.
What's the biggest part of the Anaheim Ducks game?
They score.
Bad combination.
Yes, but what do the Ducks do poorly? Defend.
Just saying.
What do the Edmonton Oilers have? Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Like, every game in this series might be 6-5.
I like the Ducks goaltending more than the Oilers goaltending.
I agree with that statement, but I still don't buy the Anaheim Ducks' ability to defend at a high enough level to keep Connor McDavid from going Connor McDavid. Like, I legitimately believe that every single game in this series could be 5-4, 6-5. I do.
Here's Chris Knobloch, what he said today regarding Leon Draisaitl. This is the Oilers head coach. No updates. As we've said before, we expect Draisaitl sometime during the first round. Now, as the playoffs start, it's a little more secret as to what our lineups will be, and we're not going to get into announce who's playing and what our lineup's going to be exactly. You guys in the media have to do some homework. Oh, it sounds like a challenge, Chris.
Okay. I mean, just say who's in the lineup. Like, I don't understand.
I have no problem with them keeping it close. I have zero problem with that. If it's within the rules that they can hold back roster information and who's in the lineup, then fill your boot. We can't be upset with that.
No, that's fine. But you also don't necessarily have to be like, hey, I'm not going to tell you. You guys do your homework. Like, just don't say anything at all. If you don't want to divulge if Leon's playing, don't. Simple.
Sounds
no
like
update.
You're a
game
little,
time decision.
You're a little
Leave it
salty
a game
with
time
this.
decision. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, I have an issue with the idea that we don't have standardized, this is when lineups need to be in, this is when we know players are going to be playing in games. Like, this game, and you can get into sports betting all you want to and talk about what that means for the league and all of these different things. But, like, determining what this game is going to be with or without Leon Draisaitl changes so many different things. So, like, I believe there should be more transparency in as to who is and isn't playing. I believe that for a long time. Not just in the playoffs, but in the regular season.
Or if it's like this situation where Leon Draisaitl would move the needle significantly on the number, and even over under on that side of things. Maybe you just, as a responsible wager, you don't play that game tonight.
Sure.
Or you gamble that he is not going to be in, and you take a swing at it. But teams are there's no rules that say that they have to, and I would be the exact same way if I was running a National Hockey League team and keeping things a little closer.
Okay, hold on. Where do you think the Oilers are getting a massive advantage over the Anaheim Ducks tonight if they don't divulge an hour before puck drop or 2 hours before puck drop that Leon's going to play?
Maybe it's not a slam dunk that he is going to play. They activated him yesterday, but maybe it's not all that we think in a certainty standpoint that he's going to be in. And if they announce that, we think he's going to play, but it's going to be a game time decision, and he doesn't play, then the sports bettors are even more pissed off.
I'll be interested to see if Leon's playing today after being activated yesterday.
Game's underway. Senators and Hurricanes playing Game 2 of their first-round series in the Eastern Conference. Hurricanes won the opener 2-0 and have a 1-0 lead tonight. Logan Stankoven, his second of the series. Stankoven was the guy that they got in the Mikko Rantanen trade. And Taylor Hall and Blake have assist on that. That line's been really good all year. But the Carolina Hurricanes holding on to that early lead in Game 2, hoping to take a 2-0 series lead. Ottawa looking for their first goal of the series into the fifth period of this set.
Yep, I mean, not ideal for Ottawa to go 4 scoreless periods, but I still believe in the team. I still believe in the Ottawa Senators. I still like them in this series, so all they got to do is find one, and then maybe the floodgates open a bit. We'll see.
Philadelphia Flyers continue to just enjoy the benefits of Porter Martone, who turned pro from Michigan State, and I've lamented how many different ways that he helps the Philadelphia Flyers. He's just a gifted offensive player, helps them out in the power play as well, and their power play was very lethargic this year. Porter Martone turning pro after his college season ended and getting, I know he wanted to make the Frozen Four. Didn't get there, but having that extra week with the Philadelphia Flyers, being able to play has certainly given them some added juice. He scored his second of the series, and the Flyers have a 1-0 lead late in the second period against the Pittsburgh Penguins, trying to go 2-0 on the road to start that set.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be massive, obviously, for the Philadelphia Flyers. You go on the road to start a playoff series. You're hoping for the split. They were able to get that in game number 1. But if Philadelphia can take both games in Pittsburgh and go home to that crowd, understanding it's Sidney Crosby in Philadelphia for the playoffs, like, it would be bedlam. So, yeah, I mean, the Flyers have been impressive. They were impressive in game number 1. And, they held the Penguins to 2 shots on goal in the first period in this game, and you'd expect, or would have expected, maybe more of a push from the Penguins early on in this one.
I wonder what the biggest lead will be at any point during this series. Like, will it be 2 goals? Will that be as far as any game gets away from somebody, or the biggest advantage that a team will have? It doesn't feel like it's going to get much more than that. And Pittsburgh trailed basically throughout the other night, and they still had a chance in the final 10 seconds after being down, and they were almost able to come back and get it to overtime.
Yeah, it almost feels like a series where if you get a 2-goal lead, it's kind of game's over to a certain degree, and even though Pittsburgh was right there, it didn't feel like Philadelphia was going to crumble because they were able to build a bit of a cushion. I don't think that you're going to see any team, either team, Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, kind of open a wide gap in this one. I just don't get the sense that that's what we're in for. I think it's going to be relatively low scoring, like it has been through the first game and, almost 2 periods here. And I still think it's kind of anyone's series, but I've been impressed, very much impressed with the Philadelphia Flyers so far.
You see Sid in game number 1?
The slash?
With Sanheim?
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. What a gamer.
Phenomenal.
What a gamer that
great.
guy is. Roope Hintz remains out for the Dallas Stars, so will not play tonight in Game 2 against the Minnesota Wild. Timeline for his return was pushed back before Game 2 of the Western Conference Final. Here's what his head coach is saying in Glenn Gulleton. Best I can say is for Game 3, it would be highly unlikely. So he says that we're chugging away with the guys that have played some great hockey for us, but Roope Hintz doesn't sound like he's going to be available until the middle of this series against the Minnesota Wild. And this is it was the most lopsided result of the 7 openers that we've seen. Minnesota controlling game number 1 against Dallas. That Stars team with all their experience. That's one of those ones where I'm not putting a lot of angst in worrying about whether or not that there'll be an answer from the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, I don't think that. I'm not saying you're writing that one off, but I'm not worried about Dallas. Like
I'm crumpling that up and throwing the garbage can.
I don't worry about the Stars in terms of compete. I don't worry about the Stars because they have shown time and again that if they fall behind in a series, they can get right back into it. It wasn't too long ago that the Golden Knights went to Dallas, took games 1 and 2, and ended up losing that series in 7 games. So this is a Stars team that's kind of been through this type of situation before, and I'm expecting them to be much, much better here in Game 2.
Several teams that did not qualify for the Stanley Cup playoffs are going through their end-of-season media availability. Winnipeg is one of those, and playing off the comments from Connor Hellebuck at the end of the campaign, Winnipeg Jets general manager Kevin Cheveldayoff responded today. This is what Hellebuck had to offer up the other day. Complacency is not going to get us moving forward, so something has got to happen. I'm not going to just sit here and throw every guy under the bus because, honestly, I'm a goalie and I know goaltending really well. I can't say this forward did this, the defenseman did that. That's not my spot. I believe in every guy giving their A-plus effort tonight, but a lot of times, that's all you ask. You give your every ounce, every single night. As a teammate, I can really rally behind that. But he said that they were slower. They weren't as competitive this year. Kevin Cheveldayoff said, in response to that, Connor is someone that's a very emotional player. When Connor Hellebuck spoke in public like he did, you can imagine that those are the same kind of conversations that we had privately in those regards. You don't become an elite player in this league unless you have that kind of emotion, that kind of fire, that kind of drive. Damage control, or do you think that that's the way it really goes down?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with what Hellebuck said. Like, he's driven to be excellent. He wants to win, and he's driven by that. And, I think for a lot of guys, when you get to that level, you can't allow complacency to be a part of your vocabulary. You can't allow it to enter into your headspace. So I don't disagree with Connor Hellebuck and his thoughts, and I think Kevin Cheveldayoff kind of echoes that's what sets Connor Hellebuck apart. He wants to continue to get better. He wants to win, and that needs to be the standard for everybody.
I just want to flip back to the other games last night. Golden Knights win 4-2, but Buffalo rallied in the third period and took out Boston 4-3 with an incredible comeback performance at home.
Yeah, I mean, for Buffalo, like, the barn was rocking, and it was a long time coming. We're talking 14 years in the making here. Tage Thompson was all over the score sheet as well. So, for the Sabres, I like them in this series. I think they win this series, but, to be able to get that first win under your belt and come from behind dramatic fashion, not necessarily a strange occurrence for Buffalo this year. So good on them for getting it done, and good on the fans. Like, just a tremendous atmosphere there.
I think Boston takes too many penalties. The Sabres weren't able to capitalize on it last night, but they spent a lot of time on the power play. That's going to catch up to you. They just spend too much time shorthanded in a series against a team with pretty good offensive talent. The Montreal Canadiens, Juraj Slafkovsky, scored 3 straight goals for the Canadiens to win. The first overtime game of the playoffs goes towards the Canadiens, and the Colorado Avalanche only scored 2 goals, but it was enough to beat the Los Angeles Kings. I like that. I looked at that as a bit of a victory for the LA Kings, being close and gave themselves an opportunity to, with one shot, to get it to overtime and take the chances.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I felt the same way watching the game, that it was, it was an opportunity in front of LA to just kind of look around and say, we can skate, we can play with the Colorado Avalanche. And I'm not sitting here saying that the Kings don't believe that, but there's a lot of people that look at this series and think it's going 4, and if that Colorado could win it in 3, they would. So if I'm LA, I'm feeling pretty good about where that series is after game number 1. I thought the Kings played well.
Back to wrap up the show on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Stay with us.
I'm on fire over here, lads. Come on, I need some back and forth. Come on, what do you got for me? What do you got for me? Now make it quick. Make it funny.
We're down to the wire. It's the last minute of play.
Next stop, Game 2. Fortress. Inside T-Mobile Arena tomorrow night. Utah Mammoth against the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas looking for a 2-0 series lead. And that game tomorrow night, if you haven't heard, 6:30 face-off. So nighttime at 6 o'clock, we'll be on the air for an abbreviated edition of the VGK Insider Show. Only about 90 minutes tomorrow, but a lot coming your way. We'll also be joined by Brian McCormick of the Henderson Silver Knights. They launched the Calder Cup playoffs over at Lee's Family Forum on Wednesday, and tickets available through HendersonSilverKnights.com Wednesday, Friday, and if necessary, Sunday at Lee's Family Forum. And for the Vegas Golden Knights, they're expecting another raucous crowd tomorrow on the heels of a series opening win against Utah.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. I love playoff hockey. It takes all of 30 seconds to be reminded of how amazing playoff hockey is. So everyone get ready and buttoned up and dialed in for game number 2.
Yeah, it was right away last night. Fine.
Yeah.
You can tell. I'll go to the scrums, the kerfuffles, the gatherings. Vegas doesn't do that a lot during the regular season. Last night, everybody was engaged. Just a little way to drag everybody in. Let's go have some fun. But I'll see what Utah does adjustments-wise tomorrow night. I think Vegas doesn't have to change a lot. They can just add on to what they were able to do, especially in the third period. Thanks to Jared Justice. Everything okay over there, Jared? 20. Good. He's giving us the countdown. It's like, I'm not getting into this right now. We'll talk to you tomorrow ahead of Game 2 on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Enjoy, everybody.